Hi, hello everyone. Good afternoon to our Instaca fans. Today we have a very interesting panel of colleagues. We're just diving into the ongoing African Cup of Nations and just any other kind of feedback. We might also want to hear from you guys that out there. Please do join us. With that, I'd love to welcome Ms. Zenith Malau from Baltimore.
Hi, everyone. Very excited to be here for these last two games.
And we have our own, Mr. Raphael from Nigeria. I'm sure he's the most excited of us all because they have a big day tomorrow. Mr. Raphael.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm still going to disappoint some people with my. We'll get to the finals, but I'm glad to be here as always.
No, you all know, but no apology for going to the finals. It's okay.
I think people will be fooled by the jersey I'm wearing, but you'll be surprised when I start speaking.
And you know what's funny? I'm a diehard supporter of Nigeria, just so you know.
Yes. Many Africans are.
Yes, so even when you guys were playing, which did you guys play last?
We played South Africa.
South Africa.
Yes.
Okay, South Africa. On that one, I was South Africa. I won't lie to you. I wanted South Africa to win,
South Africa.
But the result didn't really. It kind of made me be okay with that because I want Nigeria to win the final. So, and there's been a lot of interesting surprises in this AFCON. So I don't know. Should we just dive into some of the interesting things that have happened? Shocks, as most of you guys may know. I guess 5 of the most highly ranked teams were kicked out in the first round. So there's been a lot of surprises and shocks. So what do you guys say or think about that?
Zenith, go first.
Yeah, so actually, we did have a discussion on Ralph's platform. That's my son. A month before, before AFCON started, and our picks were both Northern African teams. And in the first round, I knew right away that Morocco was in trouble. Okay, Raphael, you can go ahead on this point. I'll come back to it. Let me help my son.
So to continue off from where Zenith stopped, on my other project, Afrigo podcast, myself, Zenith, a friend, a fellow brother in Algeria, from Algeria, and a brother from Kenya, and who else? A Kenyan also living in Thailand, and a couple of other Africans. We all had a conversation, and everybody made a prediction for who will win the tournament, and I think only one person picked Nigeria, the Kenyan brother who lives in Dallas. And
wow.
But I still stand on it that Nigeria won't win tournaments, but I'll come to that later on. It's something that I've said on this show previously that I'm sticking to. I'm very consistent on that. But it's why I love AFCON. It's why I love this competition. I've always seen it as it's not something that goes exactly as the football followers tend to predict. Like, take the Euros, for example. The winner is always going to come from Western Europe, guaranteed. It's no matter what, because that's the biggest leagues, that's the biggest stars. AFCON does not follow that template. If it followed that template, Zambia wouldn't have won in 2012. Even when Nigeria won in 2013, that's like one of the weakest Nigerian teams, where a local base player scored the goal in the final. Nobody knows where he is today. After that, he disappeared. Only Nigerians remember him, but they ask Africans outside, where's Sunday Umba? Nobody remembers him. But he became a hero after that AFCON. And you get stories like that. Many people don't respect Egypt enough, but the 3 AFCONs Egypt won back-to-back, it was Abu Trika, a local base player who was the champion. He led that team. He's still like a god in Egypt to this day, that the government actually doesn't like him. So he now lives outside of Egypt. So AFCON has always created heroes and stars like that. Even when Cameroon won 2017, led by Florent Alaphilippe, Cruz. I remember his name. He got a long name. The guy who became hero of that tournament.
Right.
He was nobody. Nobody really knew him in the game, and the biggest Cameroonian stars boycotted the tournament just before the competition, and they had to put together a kind of Team C of Cameroon, and they showed up and won the competition. You create new heroes. You can have stars like that. So the fact that a bunch of us talked about the competition, I always talk to I picked Morocco to win, based on current form, based on being led by a local coach, because I always say local coaches. But that's my caveat. That's how I can always escape, that a local coach will still win competition, which I think will happen on Sunday. But it didn't come too much as a surprise to me that that the biggest teams started being eliminated. So even the best team in Africa is still Senegal. You can't take it away from them. 100% is Senegal. But I wasn't surprised when Senegal lost, because it just happens in AFCON. It happens. You can be the best, and on your day, one team might not go right, and you lose. So that's
you said something very interesting on there. But I'll let Zenith chime in before I ask you guys. You said something very interesting about what's happening. In terms of, you look at South Africa, for example. South Africa, I hear 95% of the players play in the local league, but look how far they went. We have players who are importing professionals from Europe. They went in the first round. So, but anyway, before we come to that, Madam Zenith, what's your take on that?
So about the surprises, but just to add on to what you just said, I think it's the conversation we've been having that there should be an emphasis in investing in local leagues, because most of the South African players play locally. That way you have a balanced team. You have players from your local league, and maybe you do have players from outside, as opposed to just counting on the ones that go outside. You see, they're very cohesive with the way they play, the South African players, because they know each other very well. So you can see even the passing of the ball and how that relates into the game and how they performed and how far they went. Actually, even that semi-final game was theirs to win, but they fell short. They were the better side. If you watch the first half, I mean, it was theirs to win, but like he was saying, surprise soccer sometimes doesn't go that way. You put your pedal to the metal and you get 0, and the other team that wasn't doing so well wins, and they get to the next round. So yes, a lot of surprises. Like me too, I picked Morocco, but right in the group stage, I could tell that even though Morocco won the group stage, I was like, I don't think they'll go far. I knew I was wrong right away. But there were other teams I thought maybe, Cape Verde, you saw Cape Verde showing up, there was Angola, Mauritania. There was some beautiful games. And obviously, this is all to say, I think this is the best AFCON ever. The games have been awesome. Some have been going toe-to-toe. Some, a little bit straightforward. But the quality has been out the ballpark. So yes, I was very surprised to see some teams perform the way that they did. But I think it also goes to maybe not paying attention to what their local leagues are in the areas where they're coming from. Like, people have been building while we are sitting and watching. And people in Cape Verde or Tanzania are building their teams, because we're going and we're like, oh yeah, we can beat Tanzania. Well, that didn't happen. Because the local leagues in some countries, they're building their teams and their players, and they're finding talent, and it's being showcased at this stage. And I like that we're showing also this to the world, that we can also have quality games in Africa. And with even the images, right, the pictures, even the way we access it. I know for a while we used to watch on Funny Links. It used to be on ESPN 3 years ago, and then they stopped. But now you can find it on Sling, on Fubo, or maybe even YouTube TV. But even the quality, I think even the pitches, I haven't heard of players complaining about the pitches. Like in the past, you hear, it was uneven, it was this, it was that.
Mm-hmm.
But even the crowd, you see a lot of families, women, children, with placards. I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome. Before, you used to find 3-5 people in the pitches. So yeah, a lot of surprises. I love it.
And just to chime in, what's also very interesting is to two guys' points. So are you guys trying to imply that a more stronger local league is in large a reflection of how the national team would be, or is it access going to Europe? Because in my view, my brother Strako just mentioned something very interesting here, where we had Muhammad Abdulrika, for example. During his reign, Egypt dominated, I think, back to back for almost like 6 years, 8 years, right? Yeah, 3 AFCONs. And he had offers going to play in Europe, but still, he just chose to play in the local league, and they did extremely well. So, is it basically more like a tipping point that the Africans, our local league, have more of an impact, and as opposed to just having players go to Europe? Because Madam Zenith, you can agree with me. Like most of the players who are on our team were playing for Europe. Something that I don't agree, and I'm going to say it. We have a few of the colleagues on our national Zambia national team, for example, that are playing lower division in Europe. And you can compare that with our local league is tough. It's tough. First of all, the conditions, the pitches are not, so everything is just tough. So are we seeing that neglect, for local players, in absence for, in hoping to embrace more foreign players, people are playing abroad? I don't know how it is in your country, my brother. Maybe you can just highlight on that as well.
Well, let me step away from the men's football and jump into the women's football and use that as an example. So Nigeria with women's football should be way, way ahead, that they shouldn't even have a competition on the continent. But they've not done anything with that. It's like when the WAFCON started, we were just winning. It was a given that Nigeria would just win, and we won like the first 10 in a row, I believe. Oh no, the first 8 in a row before Equatorial Guinea became a challenger. And Equatorial Guinea literally imported people from Brazil and Argentina and some forgotten Spanish people into their teams, and they got banned by FIFA. But I digress. The way the last WAFCON, the most exciting team wasn't Nigeria. The most exciting teams were Zambia and Morocco and South Africa. But Nigeria now their women's team is all stars from Europe. The biggest star on the continent is I think she just left Barcelona now for I've forgotten the team she moved to, but she has won the Women's Player of the Year for like 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row. Although I don't think she should have won the last one because she was injured for almost half of the season. But it's like she has the name, so guaranteed. But the question is, when you look at the Nigerian league, why are Zambians not playing there? Why are Moroccans not playing there? But you see, it's like we just we're good. We don't need that anymore. And you have the same thing happening to the Nigerian Men's Football League, where in the 90s, early 90s, you had Ghana's first choice goalkeeper in the Nigerian league. You had players from Liberia in the Nigerian league. You had players from other nationalities. And when you have something like that happening, there's competition. Your talent gets better. The local talent gets better because you are learning. And that's what you're seeing in South Africa now. Because South Africa has always been producing players for Nigeria's national teams. Now, in the press conference after the Nigerian game with South Africa, I think it was after the game, the Nigerian coach was saying something that I saw a clip of. A South African journalist posted it, where he's saying they were asking him did it take until this tournament before Nigeria's current goalkeeper started getting matches, because he had only played twice for Nigeria, and it wasn't with the first team. It was with like Team B or Team C.
Wow. And
then at this tournament, he starts getting matches with the first team, which is very rare that coaches do that, because the first team choices were all in Europe. The main guy who's actually the first choice just came back from a long-term injury, so he's not even at this tournament. So if he was at this tournament, if he had recovered in time, he probably would have been first choice. He's in Italy. Now, Umar Bali is now the favorite for everybody. Everybody's like, oh, look at him, he's great. But he plays in South Africa, right? He plays in South Africa. Nigerians, that's part of our hypocrisy online. But the coach is saying, oh yeah, because it's hard to scout players who play in South Africa's league. You know, we are able to scout players all over the world, but we can't really scout players in South Africa. And I'm wondering, how come other national teams in Africa had players in their leagues from players from other African leagues in their national teams? Congo has Mayele, who plays in Egypt. Congo has another player from, I think, Morocco. Egypt has, Morocco has players in Egypt, has players in Moroccan league. They also have, I don't know if they took the guy in Mamelodi Sundowns. It's a Moroccan in Mamelodi Sundowns. Other countries have, South Africa has players in Egypt. Other countries have players from other teams. So how come Nigeria is there? You're in the final now. You're saying, oh, it's hard to get scouting from South African league, but there's always been Nigerians. Even the team that won AFCON in 2013 had a player from South African league. So how did they get scouting from that team? And these are some of the things that we don't question when you're winning. It's when we start losing and people start asking questions, And I like to bring points like this out to show how we take things for granted until everything crashes, and then we start, and I'm like, maybe it's now we should bring points like this up to show how we don't even care about our leagues, because it's like, we have a player in England, everything is fine. But there's a chance that Nigeria won't even qualify for the World Cup because we're in the same group with South Africa. So that battle is coming. I think in June we'll face each other. Last time South Africa came to Nigeria, they beat South Africa. They beat Nigeria. So you've seen that they have a team more composed. Nigeria will call the stars. Will depend on that. We think we are in the final of AFCON. It doesn't look good for us going forward. All these things, there's so many things we take for granted. But if you don't compose your league should be able to create competition with the outside. It doesn't mean because you have a league, everything, you can just close the doors to outside. Ethiopia actually has a league. Despite the fighting happening in Ethiopia, if you watch Ethiopian team, they actually play almost as good as South Africa. It's just the lack of experience. They need a few years and they'll be there. So I think there are many people who just look at the stars and say, that's it, that's all we need. And there are little things that it's just those little gaps. And very soon it exposes us. But that's why I like this tournament, because you can see those little gaps. Like the Africa game showed the little gaps where the loopholes are in Nigeria. And if you are paying attention, you will see that, it's easy to beat this team. Because if Lesotho, Zimbabwe exposed Nigeria before AFCON, people slept on that, because as soon as Nigeria started playing defensive cover, that's why there's a reason why Nigeria switched to cover the defense first. But I'll leave it there. So you have to take care of your league. You have to take care of domestic. You have to build the infrastructure at home. And sometimes it might mean not winning for 4 years, 5 years.
Right.
But in the long run, you've taken care of, charity begins at home. There's a reason why people say that. And it takes care of you in the future.
Cool. Franklin, welcome to the show. Are you having a challenge with, with connecting? Can you hear us? Mr. Franklin? Oh, it's kind of frozen.
Yeah, you guys now. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Though you're kind of going in and out a little bit. So,
I think there's a delay.
Okay. But you want to chime in on what?
I hope my connectivity.
You want to chime in on what our brother said here. Mr. Rafa, he said something very interesting. If you look at going back to like Zambia's 2012 AFCON winners, that most of the players were playing in African leagues, right? South Africa, in Congo, I believe, in local leagues.
That's what I was going to say. His name has just left me. Was it Calabar? I can't remember. I remember he went to play for TP Mazembe.
Yes.
I've just never followed, I think, like the league in Congo. And I mean, it's very interesting because I'm wondering, I don't know, what other teams are there. TP Mazembe is what we hear of. That's the one we hear of. Zambians go, at least Zambians go to join that league. And they paid very well. And that's the other point I was going to make. It's a combination of so many things. Yes, some people go to Europe, but maybe also like the local leagues need to be invested in and players need to be taken care of as well. So because that's another factor, because if people are not taken care of, they don't get the money that they get, they don't have the infrastructure. You have, I think it was Bakambu, was it 2 years ago when his video was leaked? When he talked about we don't have bathrooms and toilets and infrastructure, and we're expected to play for our national team. So there are also these other issues, I think, because it gets political. and too many hands in there. Instead of just the soccer people in there, you have other people who want to eat who get involved, and people don't get what they deserve. And so you find that people are constantly looking out, and then the league inside is also suffering. And then we have this issue where players can't play together well. And then, but you see with South Africa, they play so well because they play in their league, in their country. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Franklin, are you able to come in now? Oh, I guess we're still having challenges. Anyway, we don't have really much time, guys.
Yes,
So now going to...
I think he's
Oh,
responding.
you have to give him a few seconds, then he'll be
Yeah.
able to comment.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a delay.
Oh, yeah.
Can
Anyway,
you
I
hear me
guess,
now?
I mean, if he comes in, then we can kind of give him a platform. Yeah, can you hear us now, Franklin? Anyway,
Yes,
yeah, maybe
yes,
just in the
yes,
interest
I
of
can
time,
hear.
we
I don't know
can,
if you can hear me.
You're kind of frozen though.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Aye.
yes. So we kind of can't get you through. Anyway, I was gonna say, so South Africa is playing Congo today. It's a very interesting Southern African local debut. What you guys are going to say about this match? And though I heard something, I don't know how true that is from the South African coach, because sometimes there's just so much propaganda in the media. Where the coach, I think, he says, well, if he had a way, he would have just cancelled and not play this third and fourth game. He was not so much enthusiastic about it. I don't know how true that is, but I just read something. Of course, our Facebook. There's the Facebook bloggers that kind of flip somebody's, And then before I come to that, I was just going to say one thing that I think what made South Africa not win against Nigeria. South Africa could have won that game in the under 20 minutes they had. So it got to a point where they were defending to go to the penalties. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where they made a mess. I don't know what to, which has led to what they are today. I don't know what you guys want to say about that, and then we can dive into today's game expectation, and then we can go to tomorrow's game, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah. No, I do agree. I think that was South Africa's game to win. But yes, I think they wanted to, at that point, let's just go to the penalties. They had won the previous penalties, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way. They won. It was easy. Run on Williams was phenomenal. I think record saving 4 penalties in such a tournament. I think that's awesome. He's gonna go down in the record books. That was awesome. And you do have goalkeepers who have even prior information of the players who take penalties. But he was guessing, and he was on point. But obviously it didn't work out for the next game. So I also felt like they settled for the draw, and let's just go for the penalties, and it sort of cost them. And on the games today, actually one of the things I forgot to even mention at the beginning, if you guys noticed during the national anthem, Congolese, they were protesting. They did have their hands to the mouth and their fingers
Oh, really?
to the temple. Yes, and they were wearing black armbands.
Why?
Because there's been a lot of turmoil in the eastern part of Congo. So a lot of victims there, they've had issues, I think, with rebels who I think they think are backed by Rwanda, but that's all political. And yes, so they were protesting. So it's kind of like on your knee, for like Kaepernick, very similar to that. They were protesting during the national anthem. So they're also carrying a lot on their shoulders, and just to say that out there that while soccer is giving us all this joy, there are other things going on in the world, and I guess they use the platform to sort of share that this is what's going on. As of today, yes, I heard what the coach said from South African coach. I think he was trying to say third and fourth place is the same thing. So obviously, which the question is then, does this game really matter, the third and fourth position? Because both these teams just lost in the semifinals. They're coming off of a loss, and they have to play for this position. So it's every tournament, I think it goes back and forth. Like, does it matter? So I guess it depends on who wants it more. I know some teams sometimes want to play the other players who never got a chance to play, and if they use those players, sometimes it costs the team. If they don't use like the their starters. So I guess it depends what they do. So if he feels that way, and I hear even Ronnie Williams didn't even train, I think six of them, the starters for the South African team didn't even show up for the training day. So there's a very good chance that they'll just use maybe other players and the starters don't start.
Oh, wow.
And Congo, I think they did well. They went as far as they could. I think there was no notch they could, but I felt like they gave whatever they could, and I guess they couldn't go beyond that. And maybe they'll give this their all, because I think their coach said, well, we're fighting for the colors of our flag, so we're going to give it our all. So they want the medal, at least to say, well, here's the medal. We didn't think we'll go this far, and we did. And here's the bronze medal. So, but I don't know. Who knows what the thought process is today as they go on that pitch?
Rafa.
Yeah, Zenit covered what both coaches said at the press conference. Yeah, Hugo Broos is the oldest coach at this tournament. Fun fact, he was the coach who played in the very first match of the European Champions League, and Daniel Amokachi, he holds the record for scoring the first goal in the Champions League. When he changed from European Cup to the Champions League.
Yeah, in the 90s, yeah?
Yeah, I think 92. Daniel Amokachi scored the first goal. Hugo Broos was his coach. So he's been around for a minute, and he's a lot. Like the Euros, they don't do third place, because once you lose in the semi-finals, you go home. It's like it's over, And there's still some of, if you notice, even in the World Cup, a lot of the Europeans tend to complain that we shouldn't play a third place match at the World Cup. It should just reward both teams and shake their hands and say, it's over. You've lost. You did well, but don't come back and repeat your defeat. So I understand what he meant, because I saw the press conference, and the Sabre of DR Congo, he had previously coached Uganda, and he gets credit for, I guess, he was able to bring the Congolese players together, because Bukambu, after his video was his audio was leaked, many thought he wouldn't play for Congo again. But there's a lot of political infighting, and it's not just alleged. What you said, Zenit, the UN and a lot of international bodies have credible reports that Rwanda is backing a lot of the rebels in Eastern Congo. So that's why when the national anthem was being played against Cote d'Ivoire, the Congolese players were like this. So that was their protest during the national anthem. And it was, I think it's about time they used their platform to speak out and say, we know what's happening there, because it's like a no-go zone. That's the size of it's bigger than a lot of African countries, the whole area of a country that a country can't really govern because of a bunch of rebel groups there. So they might be pumped to do something for that part of the country, and a lot of Congolese were happy to see the players finally use their big platform to speak on it. But at the same time, South Africa also has the whole issue with electricity and power, state capture, and a whole lot of things going on. So everybody has something going on in their country, right? So both of them have done well. Both of them have. I don't know who deserves to win the third place match, but I would like to see both teams rotate players. Use your bench. Like, if we can get what we got at the last AFCON, where Cameroon came from 3 goals down to win on penalties, that would be exciting. I just want an exciting game, But I think both teams have done well to get to this far, and I think they've also put out. There's a lot to learn from both teams for the teams who did not make it this far. Like, Congo is. I think going forward, South Africa has. This generation, a lot of their players are 27 and above, so you might not have them for too long. So you have to start bringing the next generation up.
Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of like the defenders. I don't think you can have them for longer than 3 years. They'll be gone after that. So it's the pressure on South Africa to start creating the next batch to start coming through. Congo will have theirs for a little bit longer, but the problem for Congo is your World Cup qualifier, you've already lost to Senegal. So you're in the same group with Senegal. Senegal is already, you're not getting first from Senegal in that group. So, but I guess the consolation is AFCON. So.
Yeah, and just chiming on that, the other day I was listening to, you guys know Dr. Khumalo. Dr. Khumalo was one of the greatest midfielders for the South African team that won the Africa Cup in '96. Very skillful player.
Yeah.
So I just kind of liked his analysis about this team. He kind of said he sees that team as the South Africa '96. Like the players are playing, you kind of give an example of the new topics of this team, the Eric Tinkler, Cesar Motang, all those guys that played in '96. He's like, this team actually has that kind of that kind of style, that kind of togetherness. So to your point, I guess what would happen is that, I wish they can put in all they can even today's game, because it's going to help them build the momentum going into, there are games coming up, World Cup qualifiers, and ultimately the, another Africa Cup, which is like in less than 2 years, So
it's next year, actually.
Oh, it's next year?
Yeah. Morocco in 2025.
About 18 months, 16 to 18 months, I think.
Well, CAF has to confirm the date because it clashes. If we go by the unofficial date right now, it clashes with the Women's World Cup next year.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
The Women's World Cup or WAFCON, there's a clash. But so CAF president has denied twice he's been put on the spot, and he said we have it under control, but we are waiting for him to confirm. Because it's supposed to be a summer date because it's Morocco, so you can play it in the summer. We haven't heard. But you just reminded me of a point I forgot to make on South Africa's play against Nigeria. So 2 quick points. I believe the reason why South Africa couldn't beat Nigeria in the 90 minutes is the number one weakness of this South Africa team. Dr. Khumalo compared the team to the 96 team, and I would say the 98 team also had some of that. But those teams had strikers, reliable strikers. Especially the 98 team had a Benny McCarthy. He wasn't in 96. But Benny McCarthy came out in 98 where he scored 8 goals. If they had somebody like that on this team, they would have beaten Nigeria hands down. Makapo he's good. He's a decent striker, but he's not a reliable striker. Because if you have to give him like 15 chances before he can give you 1 goal. This tournament, I think that's one thing many people haven't really noticed in this tournament. Like you've seen a team like Mali. Mali has the best central midfielders in Africa, but they don't have wingers. They have the best central midfielders. No team has that. You can't pass the ball better than Mali. They will hold you. They will defeat you. With that midfield, you can't beat them. That's why you saw their game against Cote d'Ivoire. They can battle even Senegal with that central midfield. But wingers, they don't have. Every team has some strength somewhere. There's a weakness somewhere. Ghana has is attacking forward. They have, but you see that their midfield is very, very sketchy. You see, Nigeria doesn't have that powerful midfielders. So they have that long ball they just throw to Osimhen. Osimhen holds the ball. Then 2 attackers can appear from nowhere. Every team has something missing somewhere. And South Africa, they can pass the ball from back to the middle. When it gets to that attacker, where's the striker from? They don't have it. If they have that striker, they will destroy a whole lot of things. That is that weakness that South Africa has, because their football is beautiful. Their football is divine. So I think that's why it made sense when they go into the extra time to, let's play for penalties. And it kind of backfired, especially when the red card happened, which I support the defender. That's smart defending. Foul the guy before he gets into the box, because Murphy would have scored. So foul him there, take that red card, take it for the team, take 1 for the team. But going into penalties, I don't think South Africa studied Nigeria's penalty takers, because a lot of the English boys took English penalties, which is in the middle. Put it in the middle. English penalties. If you have German, Nigeria doesn't have German players on this team like in the past. Germans have their up penalties that they do. There's only one team in Africa that's usually the team you don't want to go into penalties with. That was Egypt. For 40 years, they hadn't lost in penalties, and then now they've lost 3 penalties in a row, penalty shootout. So
wow.
yeah, that's the only team people were afraid to go into penalties with. So if it was Egypt and they would just say, all right, extra time, we'll take it to penalties. But yeah, I don't think South Africa studied for that. So yeah, that was
okay. Anyway, yeah. So we just have about less than 12 minutes. So you guys want to chime in on tomorrow's game? Of course, your country, Nigeria, is playing Ivory Coast, and I know you guys. It's always a very interesting kind of local derby, I would say. And I also see the similar style of play. Because most Ivorian players and those from Nigeria are playing in Europe, most of the players. So the style is almost the same. Of course, there's, besides this, the intensity, there's always that element of, like physique involved. So it's going to be very interesting. Though, I mean, I'm not trying to be biased, but I would love for Nigeria to win because I didn't like what Drogba did. Let me just be selfish here. So Drogba was praying for Morocco to beat Zambia so that they can qualify as best losers. I didn't like that. So,
what do you want him to do?
I have no qualms with what Drogba did. That's what I would have done. That's what anybody would have done. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't blame him. I mean,
everybody.
For your team. What do you expect? That's what he's supposed to do. I agree. I think with Zambians, we always feel like, we played Ivory Coast in the finals of 2012. And let me tell you, Sunzu marked Drogba like crazy.
Yes. Oh, I see the hatred.
Yes. Kopila Sunzu stopped Drogba. And remember, he had the penalty in the game, which he missed, by the way. That ball just went by air. And let me tell you, and you had Mwene doing this like...
I see the graduates coming from.
So I think that people always think Drogba is coming for us. No, but what he did, nothing wrong. I think he had every right to do that. I mean, we all wanted to qualify. We too. We were hoping for a miracle so we could beat Morocco and qualify. Well, we did it. We were not prepared. And so lucky for Ivory Coast, they made it through. And look how far they've gone. So I'm rooting for them because they lost the coach. An indigenous coach took over, Emre Faye. He sort of restructured things, bringing substitutions at the right time. And look how far it has taken them. They have gone all the way to the finals from being the worst losers. That's incredible. And in home field advantage, I hope they win. I hope that for their pride and for what they went through to get to the finals, I hope that they win. But take all that aside, all the sentiments aside, just soccer itself, yes, I also feel like it's like 50-50, meaning the teams are, maybe Nigeria might have a bit of pace forward compared to maybe the Ivory Coast might have a slower defense, and I don't know, they say Halau is very wasteful. I don't know.
Osimhen is the person with the most chances in this tournament. Nobody has missed more chances than Osimhen in this tournament.
Yeah, you think Osimhen is
no, the statistics shows that Osimhen has missed the most. He has the statistics.
Can I say something about Osimhen? I hate to say this. I think he's way overrated. I don't know. I may be wrong. Because
I don't think so, but
no. You know, my brother, for the African Football of the Year, right? I mean, we had players like Nanko Kanu, for example. He just wins the African Football of the Year. When he comes, you feel his presence.
Yeah.
You see that? With Osimhen, he hasn't really impressed me, so to say. I mean,
he hasn't. You sure?
No. If I look at the entire team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would take players like Ademola. He's been very outstanding. Lukman Ademola and what's the other guy's name? Iwobi. Osimhen.
Iwobi is the worst midfielder, man.
No. Look, what I mean is
Osimhen makes space. Without Osimhen making that run, Lukman doesn't get that goal. Osimhen took 3 defenders with him. That's how Lukman got that goal. Osimhen makes everything Nigeria is Osimhen. Without Osimhen, Nigeria doesn't.
I don't know. I think I was just expecting more from him. Being, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Osimhen is Nigeria's hurricane. That's why I call Nigeria the England of Africa. Because when that long ball comes and you see Osimhen bring the ball down, Harry Kane does that same thing. He's like a number 10 striker, and he can hold the ball, drop defenders, and you see those two guys start running into space. The space opens up for them. That's Osimhen. So sometimes he won't get the goals, but even when the penalty happened, he has won 2 penalties in this tournament, and he gets up and is like, I'm not taking the penalty. Truth to come take the penalty. That's a tactic they've come up with, that a central defender will come take up the penalty, and he puts it in the middle. And I'm like, how do the other teams don't notice that this guy is going to put the penalty in the middle? So he's waiting for once the goalkeeper dives, that ball is going in the middle. Teams should have studied that by now. Truth hasn't changed it. Only in the shootouts that he went up, but his penalties are in the middle. So some things the other teams should have studied that. But Osimhen, I watched him in Napoli. It's a different format, but he's powerful. He uses his space, and that's why they compare him to Drogba. He's very similar to Didier Drogba's style, minus the back to goal thing that Drogba used to do, where he checks the ball and boom, he doesn't do that. But Kanu never won highest goal scorer in any competition. Even the under 17 that Kanu came out from, Wilson Oruma, the midfielder, was the highest goal scorer in that competition. Kanu never won highest goal scorer in any competition, but Kanu was the intelligent play of like a Dennis Bergkamp, where before the ball came to his feet, they said Kanu knew what he was going to do. Before he touched the ball, he already knew what he was going to do. So he could make your play much better, the striker, a faster striker ahead of him. But Kanu doesn't have pace. So, but for me, the whole story of this AFCON this is an AFCON of stories. And there's no better story than Cote d'Ivoire in this AFCON. Realizing that they had an overpaid French guy there who was just cooking up. I don't know what the hell he was cooking in the group stage. Because when you see that Cote d'Ivoire in the group stage, it was like he just put all the biggest stars on the team. Now there were 2 missing ingredients, Adingra and Hala. They were both injured in the group stage. And if you remember in the game against against Senegal, when Hala came in, he wasn't fully fit. But when he was introduced, listen to the crowd, the way the crowd started chanting when Hala came in. Hala is the second story of this tournament. But the way the Ivorians were pumped when Hala was brought in. Hala is another big striker. He's the best replacement for Drogba that Cote d'Ivoire has had. And when fully fit, that guy is trouble. And that's the type of defender that Nigerians don't like defending against. Because with his big body, he occupies space. He can battle Troost. They can wrestle. They will wrestle. But Hala is good in the air. He's good on the ground. He's good with both feet. But he wasn't there in the first game against Nigeria. So Nigeria didn't face him. He changes the whole equation. And you saw the goal he scored against Congo, where I don't think the contact was correct that he made. But that's what a perfect striker does.
Can I ask you a question, Rafa? Can I ask you a question, both of you? You sound more like you're leaning more towards Ivory Coast, right?
Oh, there's a local coach there, so you know where I'm leaning.
Huh?
Local coaches, anytime, local coaches, 100%.
Oh, because there's a local coach, right?
100%.
Yes, MS Faye, because remember
MS
the
Faye.
coach got sacked. The coach got sacked in the group
I don't support non-Africans against Africans.
Wow, you know what? I love your level of patriotism.
And then
It don't matter the country. I'm there with, so I'm Ivorian. That's why I'm trying to jinx Nigeria. That's why I'm wearing this. I'm wearing all the green.
I think for me, the whole part where Ivory Coast actually tried to get Herb Renard. Remember, Herb Renard is one who played in 2012. They actually wanted to pay him. I think it was like $100,000.
$100,000. He doesn't talk to you. $100,000 minimum.
For the rest of AFCON. But that deal failed, and MS Faye had to take over the local guy, and he changed the pieces and just look where his
his first coaching job. His first coaching job too.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing. If MS Faye was a white Frenchman, Cote d'Ivoire wouldn't have a problem giving him the job. But they were willing to sideline him and bring somebody else from Europe. Come take the job. We'll give you. The Prime Minister made the call. The Prime Minister of Cote d'Ivoire made the call.
You know what, my brother, Zenith can agree with me. Even in our own country, it's happening. We have a lot of well-qualified local coaches.
Mm-hmm.
What really vexes me, what really disappoints me is that a foreign coach, right? I mean, like the kind of coach that we have right now, if he were to leave, if they hire a local coach, they're going to pay him 10 times less than they are giving the coach.
Exactly.
And then even that money, sometimes they don't even pay them for 6 months.
And you give them you pay them less, then you tell them you must qualify for the World Cup, you must win AFCON, you must you tell them to climb Mount Everest, you must go to space too, you must with the least resources, you must do everything in 6 months. If you don't do it, you're fired.
No, it never works that way. Anyway, 30 seconds. Anything wrap up Zenith? Then you got to Rafa. Then
obviously, I'm looking forward to today's match. I'm rooting for. You know what? I don't know who I'm rooting for today. May the best team win.
Rooting for Africa.
Oh, honey, please just give me 30 seconds. Say hi.
Hey there. Are you a soccer player too?
I think I'm going for Ivory Coast. That's whom I'm going for. Yeah.
Wow. Mr. Raphael.
Yeah, for today, I'm going for today's Africa. Africa wins today. Even tomorrow, Africa wins. The winner is still Africa. So Cote d'Ivoire have been a great host. This one, they've been fantastic all tournaments. So they deserve to take the trophy home for me. But today, I think let football win today. African football always.
For me it's kind of hard, but I would love to see South Africa win.
Yeah.
Even though what's funny, South Africans have always been mean to us, the Zambians.
They're mean to everybody.
They always mean Zambian league, these Zambian players, like they always want to critique. Like, in a nutshell, we have more accolades that we've won, whether South Africa, and South Africa. The only thing they can beat us is having qualified to the World Cup, which we haven't. But the rest of everything, we dominate them. But that's kind of not so good gesture toward us. But that aside, I'm looking for South Africa, and tomorrow I would love to see the Super Eagles win. Hopefully they do. So anyway, it's been a nice day, guys. So thank you so much for joining, for your input, for your analysis. I guess what I'm thinking now is that next time we should just kind of try to dig deeper into challenges being faced by African football itself. Why are we rushing for expatriate coaches? Look at Senegal. Senegal has had a local coach. You see how far they've gone in the last few years. Like we should look into that. Look into local leagues, infrastructure, and how that translates into this type of tournaments. So we can set that up maybe in this coming week or the other way, so that we kind of chime in more and share ideas and,
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. It's been a nice day. Hope you have a good day. The game is almost started, so please enjoy.
All right. Thank you.